Hey everyone, welcome back to Wrapped. Each year, we count down and break down our favorite albums of the year in a multi-episode special. For 2020, we're doing a 5-episode special counting down each of our top 50 albums of the year, containing 10 episodes per person per episode for a total of 30 different albums per episode. Each album is graded using a multi-category 5 or 10-point grading scale that judges albums based on their musical composition and sonic level of quality, to their collaborative efforts or teamwork with others, to even their conceptual themes and ideas they present, and much, much more. For this year's countdown, please join us in welcoming our good friend and fellow collaborator, Adam Stansel, to Wrapped as our newest full-time host. After joining us as a featured guest last year for 2019's Album of the Year Countdown and launching his own podcast, Christian Hip Hop Culture, his expertise in certain genres of music and well-worded existential commentary led us to him officially joining Wrapped as our third host. Lastly, you can watch each episode on YouTube to see our faces and screen shares of the music we discuss. If you're listening to us on Spotify, you can hear each of our favorite songs from each album on our lists in full during the countdown to get a better understanding of the music being discussed. Okay, without further ado, let's wrap. All right, Adam, kick us off with your number 40.
All right. Number 40 for me is 180 Chopped Not Slopped by Aha Gazelle. This is the chopped and screwed version of his album 180 that came out super early in 2020, January. And we talked about that a lot when it came out, and we'll be talking about it a little bit more later on. But this is the reprise that came out on Halloween, I think.
It was like right around then.
Very close.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, if you're familiar or if you're unfamiliar with Chopped and Screwed, it's basically where an artist or a producer will take a already released project or group of work or body of work in some way and like super change up the production and like slow a lot of stuff down and do take a lot of creative liberties and fun stuff with the production. Typically, I don't have a ton of experience with these projects, and I don't necessarily always love them, but typically there isn't a lot added. But the reason that I liked this one kind of more is that there's a lot of weird like interpolations of other songs in the pieces. So like, I don't know the exact song that interpolated into it. It's another Aha song, but like in Take the Lead and in Waterfalls, I believe, they like at the fade out or at the ending of the song, they'll start to interpolate in another song, slowed down and then weird into the production, which is cool. Like, it's just like neat, I guess. And it was something that he had teased for a while, so it was really cool that it finally came out. He's been teasing a lot of projects though, so
That's true.
I'm interested to see what happens.
September season, I mean, is December, but September season coming soon.
I mean, he has a bunch of stuff. Like, I know he has a reprise of the Barabbas project maybe coming out soon. But it's 7 songs. It's really easy to listen. It's going to feel weird to listen to, especially if you've already listened to the other one. If you listen to the original 180 and then listen to this, it's going to feel weird, especially if you're not familiar with the chopped and screwed versions of things, just because it's very slow. It's not something that you're going to, like, bump at a party or anything like that. Like, it's very different.
Mm-hmm. There
is not a, like, hype vibe throughout it, which 180 was already not super hype. So anyway, it's good. The fact that it is this type of production style that I don't typically love and it made it on the list is testament to how much A, I love the artist, and B, that they do enough things different that it feels good. So
that's fair. Yeah, that's real. What you got, Ryan? Number 40.
All right, so my number 40 is The Libra by T.I. So this is not my favorite T.I. album. I think This one is just all right on the scale. It's not as good as Dime Trap by far, and Dime Trap is not even one of his best projects. Um, I think his best projects being like Paper Trails or T.I. versus Tip, which gave us Big Things Poppin', just full of classics. I think this album was kind of more mature, and it kind of feels like he's starting to try to solidify a legacy of like being the king of trap music or whatever. Because it feels very like you every sound that you hear, except for maybe the song with Young Thug, you would expect to hear from him. But the chemistry that he has with Young Thug is very interesting because you wouldn't expect it to happen because he is a very almost like lyrical miracle trap rapper, and Young Thug does whatever Young Thug does.
Young Thug be doing Young Thug stuff.
Yeah. And I feel like it was cool to hear those styles clash, and the video is really cool. They filmed it in the Batcave from The Dark Knight. But also I really like the song with Eric Bellinger and Killer Mike because it is the side of T.I. that is more so the social leader rather than just highly acclaimed rapper.
Yeah,
I feel like that was really cool.
that is cool.
I also I wish that they would rehash out, him and Kanye would rehash out their song that they had together.
Ye versus the People.
Yes, I feel like that needs a part two. Just with current circumstances and what's been happening and things that have said and like how the year has transpired. I think that would be really interesting to hear now.
Yeah, that's a deep
If you
cut.
haven't heard that, go and listen to that. It came out
2018.
It kind of got overshadowed by Infinity War coming out that same weekend.
Literally.
And also it was the same drop as the Poop-de Scoop.
It was.
Whoop-de Scoop-de Poop song. So
it was like the Twitter era when he was like dropping songs on Twitter, but the only one that actually came to streaming was like the one with Lil Pump. I love it.
Oh God.
Yeah, versus the People's on streaming.
Is it on Spotify?
Yeah.
Oh snap! I didn't realize that. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, hold on. Let me verify.
That was when he was still working on Yandhi, right? Before he scrapped Yandhi to be Jesus King.
I guess so. I mean, well, actually, that was right before Ye came out. Ye was summer 2018, and we're talking like April 2018. Oh, it is on streaming. Okay, well, people, go listen to this. Yes.
Okay. No,
yeah, because you see the timestamp right there.
Yeah. Okay, so when was Yandhi supposed to come? Oh, I don't want to talk too much about Kanye, but I feel like there was a time where like
Yandhi was supposed to come out when Jesus is King came out.
Okay, right. But he scrapped Yandhi, did Jesus King instead, and took some.
Well, no, because he said it was going to be delayed originally. Jesus King was supposed to come out, and then it was going to be Yandhi, then whatever he was going to do after. Then it became Jesus is King, then Yandhi, and then whatever was supposed to happen.
Yeah,
Yandhi exists
somewhere. In a shoe on a USB drive
on Dr. Dre's laptop.
That's
Colton,
real.
Give us your next one.
All right, my number 40 is probably my most independent one, I would say, because this artist is not super well known, but it's an EP technically. It's called On Self-Loathing by McCall. So McCall is actually a friend of mine who I grew up with. We went to like theater and stuff together, and then she like went to school in Cali, and she really got into music and playing the bass. And she's been dropping some music here and there. I've talked about her once or twice on the podcast weekly episodes, and she did drop a project last year at some point, but then she was teasing this new project this summer called On Self-Loathing, and it came out, and I texted her and I was like, this is incredible. Like, for someone who is extremely small as an artist, like her only like placements are like she knows a lot of the dudes who do like the Monster Cat label stuff with like EDM mixes and whatnot. Like, she fell in with a couple of them because she has the perfect voice for vocals for that. but her production is crazy on this, and she kills it. And it's this whole thing of like basically about like hating yourself, also 2020 commentary. And then she did a really dope thing as far as merch goes, where you could buy a handwritten journal that had all the lyrics to the songs, and she sat and like literally hand wrote all the lyrics to the 5 songs in these little journals and sent them to people with like little notes, and it was like kind of custom tailored to you. And I was like, ooh, custom merch. I'm like, that is something that you don't see a ton of anymore.
Well, yeah, and I
Ever.
don't think you get to do that unless you're a smaller artist.
Exactly. So like that's kind of the beauty of it, is like someone who's a small artist. And it's interesting because I was like, I mean, this EP is really good, and she's going up to bat with like very large, well-scaled albums on my list. But I gave this an 8.6 because like, even though she's my friend and stuff like that, we're not like super close where I was like, I have to put her on my list. Like, we're just kind of acquaintances at this point, but
Right.
blew me away, honestly. Like, I texted her, and there's a song, like the transition from this "Will You Ever Go Away" to "Without Even Trying." It just like starts with like this one note, and then like you hear like a text message notification come in, and then she just drops her vocals, and like I like run it back like 20 times the first time I heard it, because I'm like, this is a banger. Like, this is crazy. So everyone go get that McCall, man. I'm putting people onto her.
That's cool.
I'll listen to it.
It's dope.
All right, so my 39 is Song Machine Season 1 by the Gorillaz. This is it is an album technically, but it was dropped like sequentially, a little bit at a time, as part of a web series, I'm pretty sure. Like, it was in with a comic type deal. And
Sounds
so
about right.
Yeah, and so it came out piece by piece, which is why it's season 1. Is that it's part of that, like when the season ended, or like when the web series ended, they put it all out together as one piece. So it doesn't sound super cohesive because it's not necessarily all like tied together, but killer features.
For sure.
They got Beck and Schoolboy Q on the front there. Yeah, so killer features.
Elton John and Black on the same song. I've heard this one. It's pretty interesting.
I think the Beck song was my favorite. But overall, very weird. Stayed very weird. The first song, Strange Times, you have to make it through that one, I feel, because it is very weird. Like, that Gorillaz like dissonance, like very artsy, sounds like it belongs in the Museum of Modern Art of Sound. Like, very
that's good. Put it.
Yeah, like it's just very odd, which, I mean, that's what they do, and they do it really well.
Wait, like,
also, which Slaves is that?
Let's find out. Different one.
Oh, that's UK Slaves.
Yeah,
definitely thought that they had Slaves, like the Johnny Craig band on.
He's not in that band anymore.
Or he's not in that band.
They do have Earth Gang down there.
They do have Earth Gang. Shout out Earth
Gang.
Gang.
Let's go.
Yeah. So they
Gold Link.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway. So
Skepta.
Wow. Crazy features, which
crazy
in my grading process, features is what threw it like way up.
Right.
Like,
because without them,
it would be good, and I don't think that I would like it any less. But I think that is what makes it like, holy cow, actually go look at this. If you have never listened to the Gorillaz, like, actually go look at this. Because if you haven't listened to the Gorillaz before, which I would say like maybe some of like younger millennials and Gen Z probably haven't, because like they were super big when I feel like we were younger, but then they kind of fell off, or they went away, or were less prevalent. Like, Feel Good Inc. came out, everybody's like, oh my god, the Gorillaz. And then like after that, like, they put out more music, but it never felt like it had as much impact as Feel Good Inc. did.
I liked the Plastic Beach album a lot.
Yeah, so I did too, but I don't feel like they got as much.
Oh, that wasn't as hype as Demon Days, which like Demon
Days is their best.
Demon Days is their best. Demon Days is one of the albums that like changed my life.
Wow.
But Plastic Beach, and then after that they just kind of stopped, and then came back a couple years ago,
Yeah.
And I agree with you. Ever since then, it just feels like, it just is not what it used to be.
But
Have you seen the? Oh, sorry.
but at the same time, like they are very good at the sound that they do.
They are.
Like I don't feel like they. I don't feel like they should change anything. Like I don't feel like they should do anything differently. I just feel that the impact that they once had is not necessarily there. Maybe it's because of us growing up and not being as familiar. I don't know, but definitely go check it out. Come for the features, stay for the weird music.
That's real.
I mean, sometimes it'd be like that.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 39, and please don't shoot me.
Yeah, 39. Wow, I already lost count.
Is 3:15:20 by Childish Gambino. I think that this album fell victim to me having way too high expectations based off of the last 3 pieces of music that we've gotten from him. Because I've loved everything so much, and I was like, oh, it's just going to keep getting better. And then I didn't think this was better than Awaken My Love, or because of the internet. And I don't think it was supposed to be, just from the way it was like released and everything. And like, I really enjoyed some of the songs on here. Like, I really enjoyed Time with Ariana Grande and 3531 and 4748. But there was something that I just didn't connect with in this album as much. And it like, and I don't really know how to explain it, but something just kind of didn't feel. I feel like it could have been better, but I don't know how to say that specifically.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. I just wasn't rocking with it like I thought I was going to.
It's an odd one, man. It's a really oddball project. We're gonna talk about it more later. But what I definitely think is, did you see those tweets he put out about, in reference to this project, my last project, what was like my best in his opinion? Like, he thought 3:15:20 was the best project he's made, but his next one is going to be his biggest.
Which I don't know what that means.
No, I mean,
because I would have thought like Awaken My Lover because of the internet would be his best cohesive projects, and Awaken My Love more so because it was a soul sound, and he crushed that and like took that soul sound and put like weird elements of rock and roll and like almost dubstep with like Zombie and like things like that. And then because the internet was one of the best rap albums of the century.
Yeah.
Just front to back.
Yes.
So I disagree with his opinion, but he also wrote out all of this.
It's such a, I mean, you know him. He's a weird dude. Like, just looking at the fact that this thing is titled as the album, and all of but 2 songs are all titled as timestamp numbers, and the cover art is nothing. Like, it's just, it's the most Donald Glover-ish ever. But you know what? It still slaps, like, even at that.
I love the guy, and like I enjoyed listening to this album. I just thought it could have been. I thought. It's like holding it up to Awaken My Love for me. Just it didn't hit the same.
That's fair.
And it also might be because I'm mad that it's taken them 12,000 years to put out the next season of Atlanta.
Well,
but
I mean,
he also said it was gonna come soon.
Yeah, I mean, the follow-up tweet to the one I just referenced, like he said, the next 3 and 5, 3 and 4 seasons of Atlanta, which are taking forever for him to put out, but they are coming. He said they will be the best thing on television ever besides The Sopranos. And you're like, wow, he's really hyping this up, because like The Sopranos, like he didn't even mention The Wire or like any of those other shows that are considered the best TV shows of all time, Twin Peaks, whatever. Yeesh. It's going to be really interesting. I mean,
I think Atlanta will be worth it. I think
Atlanta is my second favorite comedy show of all time, if we're considering it a comedy. Entourage.
It's Entourage a comedy?
If it's a 30-minute kind of comedic more leaning, then it's a comedy to me. But in reality, both Atlanta and Entourage are serial coms.
That's true.
Okay.
I'm a sucker for serial
Atlanta
coms.
is a comedy.
So wait. Is that the same category as like Schitt's Creek?
So if you ask me my favorite television show, I would tell you a drama and a comedy, because I can't give you one answer. But in a perfect world, I would give you 3 because serial com, because Schitt's Creek is more comedic than.
It's a sitcom. Oh,
It's
that's
a-
what you just
No, it's
said.
not. It's not a sitcom because sitcoms have laugh
It-
tracks, right?
I don't think sitcoms have to have
I
laugh
don't-
tracks.
Okay,
I don't know.
I don't want
I
to go
don't
into
know.
I don't want to derail the whole thing with this conversation because I don't know a lot about TV and film. So I love Schitt's Creek. So
Schitt's Creek was incredible. I binged all of it this
Okay.
year.
Okay,
I feel like that's one of those conversations that could have gotten real existential real fast.
that's
about
why
to
I
get
was
to,
like,
like,
cut it. I don't want to go into
What
that.
is a
We can talk
TV
about-
show?
We can talk about it later.
What is a genre?
Yeah, we can
I
talk
mean,
about that later.
That's
but
what we debate here is what is a genre with music. But speaking of genre bending, let's talk about my number 39,
What a segue.
Tickets to My Downfall by Machine Gun Kelly. So I said genre bending because someone who is perceived in the social image as being a quote unquote rapper
Quote unquote.
made an album that is for all intents purposes not a rap album. It is a rock.
It's not a rap album. There's no intensive
There's no-
purposes here. It is just straight up not a rap album.
Hey, listen, the Grammys gave Best Rap Album to Igor last year, so anything's possible at this point. But
That's the Grammys. They're stupid.
exactly. But this is a pop punk or early 2000s rock, whatever you want to call it, type of album. Either way, the man has a freaking guitar in the cover art. Like he's pulling out his like full-on rock vibes, which to be honest, this is the album I've been waiting for from him for, I don't know, 3 to 4 years now, because he has put out other songs kind of similar to this vibe, at least 1 or 2 per project for most of his career. And so I was like, I actually thought the last album, Hotel Diablo, was going to be that, and it wasn't, but that's okay because I really liked Hotel Diablo. And what's really interesting, because
Very underrated project.
Very underrated project. It's really interesting because I want to give Ryan much more time to talk about this when he talks about it, because let's be honest, we all know it's on his list. Like I might even giving a spoiler away here. But what's weird is the first time I listened to it, I absolutely hated it. I don't know why. I was like, this sucks. And then I came back and then I was like, no, wait, this is fire. Like, I don't know what I was thinking the first time. It just didn't work for me. But I think the one I'm on looking at here, this is the standard version. There is what he calls a sold out deluxe version that he released.
Why are there so many deluxe versions this year?
But
dog?
it's a real deluxe though. It's not this bull crap
Okay.
of I have a second album. No, it's literally the same album, and he just tailed on a couple more songs, specifically one with Youngblood and Burt
The
McCracken from
Used.
The Used. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
which is dope. It's called Body Bag. Really dope song.
Oh.
So
I need to go back and listen to that version.
yeah, you do, because I definitely recommend listening
is
to
that-
the deluxe.
Is that
Misery Business
a
by
cover?
Paramore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because he did a cover of Misery Business. He did a lot of stuff during quarantine at first, acoustic versions, different covers. Some songs like Pretty Toxic Revolver, that did not end up making this album.
It's on the Target version.
On the Target version, you're right. Crazy. Shout out Target. But I liked this album a lot. I don't think it's my favorite MGK project, but I also think it's unfair to rank it because it's so different. I don't know. Either way, super dope project. Also, we mentioned this, I think, on the previous episode, but Halsey freaking murdered this feature. And them together, like, I'm so happy they kind of reconciled because they make really good music together.
I have a question, and then I'll
Yes.
let us continue. But what is your favorite MGK project?
I feel like it's General Mission.
I was gonna say General Mission.
I think it's General Mission because I
General Mission's
really
up
like
there.
General Mission a lot. It's very well rounded. Yeah, but thinking about Bloom versus Hotel Diablo versus this versus that.
I'm
But-
including like the mixtapes, like
Yeah,
Black Flag and Fuck It.
See, I like some songs from Fuck It, but I don't like that as a project as a whole. It's too trappy for me. It's not what I want from MGK as a whole. But Black Flag slaps a lot, but not my favorite.
Cool. All right. Number 38. We'll probably revisit this later, so I don't want to say a ton, but this is In a Dream by Troye Sivan.
Nice.
Great album.
So Troye Sivan, I go back and forth on how much I like his music.
Mhm.
Like I loved Blue Neighborhood. I loved was Strawberries and Cigarettes the name of the project, or was that just the name of a song?
That's the name of a song. It was Bloom, I
Blue.
think.
That's the one. I really liked that project, and I liked it more than Blue Neighborhood. And then like it's kind of waned since then. And this album, like, I liked it. It's good, and it's very how would you describe it? Like,
I was
just
gonna
give me an
say it's kind of his like delve into dark pop.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's more like not ethereal, but like you get what I
You could
mean.
use ethereal,
You get what I mean.
like a
It's
creepy ethereal.
yeah. And so and you can tell even by like the cover art compared to his previous cover arts, if you ever look at those.
Mhm.
Like it's a lot more like dark tones
Yeah.
and stuff, which is it's cool. And I mean it matches the whole theme, like in a dream, like the concept of dreaming and like that whole thing. Very yeah, I mean you get the idea. But as far as choice of on projects go, not my favorite. I think Bloom would probably be my favorite. Just because not that it resonates with me more, but just I feel connected to that concept more and connected to a lot of the topics and things.
Mhm.
But overall, I mean, I really like this, and I know we'll probably come back to it later and talk a little bit more, but very different in
Yes.
a good way, but not necessarily like what I rock with. So, yeah.
That's fair.
All right. So my number 38 is Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial by Roddy Ricch.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is really at the point where all of the albums from here on out are amazing. I just think that they aren't as good as others. And for me, this is like, I know I said that last episode, but this is really where it starts because I don't think there's a bad song on here. I have my personal favorites like High Fashion, even though it's a single, The Box, even though it's a single, Boom Boom Room. I really like Moonwalking with Lil Durk. And then I thought Prayers to the Trap God was a very interesting thing to listen to. But I also think that he has a long way to go as an artist just developing the sound because I do think it gets rather repetitive at times.
That's fair.
Which is not to say that there's like something wrong with him and like what he does, but I do think that there could be a little bit more. I like his kind of melodic sing-songy flow, but I feel like there could be more variety within that. But I thought it was a very good album, and I thought it was and I love the fact that he had Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez like acting a fool trying to get them streams. And I love the fact that he also was like, "Nah, go stream their song or whatever." And I thought that was hilarious because he was like, "I just really enjoy the music that I'm putting out." But also they're making really good music. And the beat for The Box is undefeated.
Yeah. Box slaps.
Watch
the fact that it's his voice.
Watch the Deconstructed about how they made The Box. That's really interesting.
Very interesting.
Deconstructed is a genius series where they talk to producers about how different songs are made. And there's a couple really interesting ones, including this one. The one on about the guy that made the beat for Kill Shot's really interesting. And the guys that made Old Town Road and Mo Bamba and Panini.
Oh, Take a Day Trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those episodes were really interesting.
Those are really cool. But yeah, that is my 38.
Alrighty then. Next album I have for my number 38 is Ungodly Hour by Chloe and Halle. So I think it's pretty well known that if you've ever listened to them, these girls can freaking sing. I mean, they got signed by Beyonce for a reason, but their music hasn't really been something outside of respect that I've enjoyed just because the production behind it just is not my type. However, this album be different because it's R&B to the core, but it also has some like trap and like heavy bass beats. But they just don't rap, obviously. They continue to sing over them, and it's incredible. Like it's a vibe, and really chops and moves because it's 13 songs in 37 minutes. And truth be told, like the only feature they have is a song called Ketchup with Mike Will Made It, which I guess is a feature. I mean, he just produced it, but anything he does, he counts as a feature. And then Sway Lee, who's a true feature because his vocals are on it. That's it. The rest of this is just the two of them. And honestly, it sounds like a whole like R&B like group made this. It doesn't sound just like two girls. It's incredible. Like it's a really, really strong project. Also just like mad respect for them outside of just their artistry with their careers, because one of them is going to play Ariel in the live action Little Mermaid for Disney. So shout out to having a black Ariel. And Boo.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Did they do their production?
No. I don't think so. I looked at the credits on Genius, and they had a plethora. Actually, this is an interesting part is I thought that it was produced by Beyonce, but I thought like one producer did everything. They had like good 15, 20 standard amount of producers.
They're heavily involved in all of it though.
Yeah. Like
heavy handed in it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you have Beyonce in the back probably going like, to help keep it cohesive. She's putting her hand on it. Because with the different producers they have on it, and like I said, they delve into R&B and like trap beats, it could sound disjointed, but honestly, it sounded pretty cohesive to me. So I give it an 8.7 as a whole because I thought it slapped.
Cool. So 37, is that what number we're on?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Number 37 for me is the second Chopped and Screwed album on here, and this is the Slower Case tape by No Big Deal. So this is a take, another Chopped and Screwed iteration that I talked about earlier, on his Lowercase tape from last year, which on the countdown last year for Colton and Ryan was pretty high for both of y'all, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was
one
like of the better
number 12 or something for me.
Yeah, it was one of the better rap projects I've listened to last year, or really at all, and especially given that it's a CHH mixtape. He dropped it on Dat Piff originally, just the whole nine. But this one takes the same approach as 180s did, but they actually add some things here. They add a couple of tracks. So Willie and Parabolic were both singles that dropped this year. So they got thrown on here. The orders changed up a little bit.
Yeah.
There's some things missing. There's some reordered, like Daydreams wasn't on the initial piece, but it wasn't a single or anything like that. But then like Fieldhouse Freestyle, which was originally further up the album, got moved down. Sticks was further up, got moved down. Lottery was further up, got moved down just a little bit. But yeah, they just kind of rearranged things and took a different approach. So I liked this one, I think, more than 180s simply because of that. Like it took more and like it added and changed things more. So It felt more like a different project than just a reiteration or a different version of. Also, I love that they redid the cover art.
I love it.
With the purple grill, which 180 did the same thing. They did the same project cover art, but with purple instead of white and black. But this one, like, they just went the extra mile with the purple grill, which I love. Because the original Lowercase tape project had the gold grill and everything. But it's just cool to have like this creative outlet thrown into the CHH world, because it's not something that's there a ton. Like, I know this is something that's common with mixtapes and stuff in the larger rap world, but not necessarily in this one. So it's cool to see it brought in a really cool way. And I think these two artists, like Aha and No Big Deal, are probably the two of the best artists to do it. They would be the two that I would pick to do this in that world, just because they're the ones who feel the most connected to the streets, like in the OG sense. Like, they're not quite as removed from, because they're both independent. They're both a little bit more in tune with their communities that they're from. It just seems to be like they're the perfect people to do it for that scene. So
I agree.
Anyway, Ryan.
All right, so my next project is Illusion of Depth by Matt Zoe. And Illusion of Depth is a house album by Matt Zoe, and it is a incredible piece of electronic work. This whole thing is masterfully produced, and it makes you feel like you're going on a journey from like start to finish. And it, like, yes, the last song is called Begin Again because it's like until next time. I really think this would work as like a video game soundtrack if you put the right things behind it and
Oh yeah,
like put a heavy emphasis on like this could be like a really great 2D side scroller. Honestly,
Dark Souls 4. That's the
Mm.
kind of vibe I'm feeling.
Mm.
a little bit, but like
It's a little too hype for
it's
them. I
too
feel.
bright for
Yeah.
Dark Souls. It'd be like a violent Frogger, or like if you
A
gave,
violent Frogger.
or it's like it'd be like for the Messenger. If you haven't seen the Messenger, it's
Yeah.
a 8-bit game for the Switch that's insane.
Yo, we got to talk about that game later on. I love that
Yeah.
game. Continue.
It's a great game. I'm about to get it. So I really think that if, especially working and need to like kind of push through something and you just need something to like bop your head to quickly and make sure that you stay awake and focused, I think this would be a really great album to listen to. I think it is nice to give to people that are kind of still trying to break into EDM because it delves into the harder styles without ever fully committing. So you get like little bits of it, and I think that's nice. My favorite song from it was Petrushka, which is track number 7. And also Paralysis with Olan. I thought that the MCGQ feature, I thought that song was one of the more interesting ones on here. But Matt Zoe is an insanely talented producer, who is going to just kind of continue to be one of the people that turns out excellent work, like piece after piece after piece after piece. And so this was really cool to get to experience.
Nice.
All right, my 37 is How I'm Feeling by Love.
Oh boy.
This is an album that is like a case for having a concept can really like bolster the overall like quality of the album, because one, great cover art with him in these 7 different versions of him if you're counting him in the white tee as well.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, I don't know, man, this album is 21 songs, an hour and 6 minutes. It's really long. And I like him a lot as a songwriter and producer, but I was like, I don't know if I'm, and I'm not a diehard. It's a little bit too long for me. However, the fact that all these songs are so different in sound, and that as a result, they can correspond to one or two of these different characters that each represent a color, and the color represents an emotion, his personality, is like really cool. Where like he has like his like little red guy who's supposed to be like the spicy boy side of him,
Yeah.
whatever that means, but he does a song in Spanish, and that's Spicy Boy's vibe. And then he has a song about his breakup with Julia Michaels, called Julia. That's like really sad and is the closer of the album. And I think it goes with his purple, or actually it's his blue. His blue is his like old self because he has hair in it, and then all of his new ones have short hair. So this is because his first whole project was like blue and thematic. So like just kind of similar to J Balvin with colors, like using colors, making characters. He did a cool YouTube web series where he played all these different roles, and he had himself on screen, like cut, copy, pasted basically.
Yeah.
And they were like a boy band that was trying to make this album. So like as a concept, really cool. As a sonic execution, I thought it was really strong, because once again, I don't think he can make bad music because he's very talented. It's just maybe his music is not for you. But he had some dope collaborators. He even had writers like John Bellion come through for a few songs. I really like Mean It with Lainey. Thought that was a solid collab.
Oh, so good.
So good. Lainey boys over here.
I'm gonna be completely honest. I get them
Lainey's fan.
confused a lot.
It's funny because Lainey's 3 people and he's one person, but they both start with L and A, so it's confusing. I also really like the "I'm So Tired" single with Troye Sivan. that it just made sense. But then he also got Jimin and Jungkook from BTS to come and drop some bars, and it was dope because he also did a remix of one of their songs. So like just bringing in different kind of artists to bring different vibes. Sofia Reyes to help him do the El Tiano Spanish song. It's really interesting. So I don't think you can go wrong if you listen to the whole thing, but you'll walk away with like a good collection of songs that you'll love.
Yeah, we'll come back to this later, but the one thing two things I want to say. Number one, it is long, but to me, it didn't feel that long.
That's true.
Like listening through it, it felt like it went by faster. Like I never felt bored, and I never felt like I needed to like speed it up. But also the fact that there's so many artists in here that are collaborators that I love, like the Laney feature and the uncredited John influence, like Drugs and the Internet. If you listen to the production of Drugs and the Internet and you listen to John Billion, you can feel the influence.
Those are his drums.
You can just feel it. But the song that I love the most is Canada with Alyssa Clare. Like, Alyssa Cara, sorry. But it's such a good song, and I think it's very well placed, and I don't know, just the whole thing I really liked, and I'll talk more about it later, but it's very good.
Yeah, excellent project.
All right, my 36 is smaller group, very small pop rock band. The album is called Heart Baby by Recent Rumors. They are a pop rock, pop punk-ish type group that I found on a Discover playlist a couple months ago. And the thing that they do really well is, and this sounds weird comparing it to country, but country music does this thing where they like are very specific about the things they're talking about. Like day-to-day life is like a very common topic of songwriting for country music. And they do the same thing in a pop rock type way. It's not like super introspective. It's not super like idealistic. It's not super like universal truth type stuff. It's just very like, I really like you because we met at this place doing this thing. Like it's very like country, like young country type feel with the songwriting, and put that onto like I'm trying to think of an artist to compare them to sound wise, because it's not quite pop punk, like it's not quite to that realm, but it's also not pop. It's like right in the middle, and so lots of really driving guitar riffs, but still like a little bit more laid back. It's really cool sound. It's really short. It's easy listen. I think I'm saying this right, but Boulangerie, track 2.
Yeah.
That's my favorite song on this project, and it's just really interesting. I did not expect to find this type of stuff, and the songwriting is really kind of what did it for me, because it was so different than what this sound would tell you it's going to be. So it's a really cool project.
That's dope.
And the cover art kind of represents what I was talking about.
Oh,
like
very much.
Like climbing up I'm like early Taylor Swift, like climbing up the window to get in, like Romeo and Juliet type stuff. Like very, very mundane almost.
Normal. Very like, normal.
Yeah.
Normal American life.
Yeah.
For a young person.
Which is cool because like there's such a market for that, like a demographic for that.
Oh yeah.
That typically is pop punk does a good job of it, and country does a good job of it. But then you got all these people coming in with all this like introspective universal stuff, which I love. That's what I love listening to. But this is just a change of pace that I like. So
that's awesome.
All right, so my next one is by a guy named Mike Shinoda.
Oh boy.
And it is his first beat tape that he released this year. It's called Drop Frames Volume 1. There's one song with him rapping or singing on it, and that is Open Door. And the rest of it is him just kind of tinkering around and making music and kind of just doing whatever he wants, and all of it is incredible. El Rey Demonio, I can't speak Spanish, is incredibly well put together, and just has an excellent atmosphere to it. And Channeling Part 1 has one of the most insane drum tracks in any song I've ever heard in it, and it just kind of starts and then it keeps going. And I don't know for sure, because I'm a bad podcaster, but I believe that Dan Mayo was the drummer on it, because the song ends with like the final like couple hits, and then you just hear them like laughing and being like, "Oh, we made it through it." And so this whole project, and I'll talk about it more when we get to the other two, because all three of them are on my top 50, because they are insanely well put together. Um, but it was just cool to hear him come from like one of the biggest bands of all time to kind of doing beats that aren't necessarily EDM in any kind of sense of way, but are definitely electronic music with live elements, and I really enjoyed that. So definitely listen to it if you just need something to listen to.
Cool.
My number 37 is Industry Games,
right,
by Chica. So this is a really I would have assumed before a smaller artist, but actually she's been doing a couple things. She was placed in the XXL
the
freshman class
yeah.
for 2020. She also did for the BET Awards this year. They did a cipher, and she was featured in the cipher that came at the top of the award show. And I think I've mentioned this project once before when it first came out on a weekly, because it came out back in March 13th of this year. So it's been a while. And she also just got a Grammy nomination for Best New Artist, which is like chef's kiss, because I didn't think that they would nominate someone of that small, especially being a female rapper, because they had already nominated Megan Thee Stallion. Two different levels of fame in the female rap space there. But Chica slaps. Shout out. She is from Alabama. So we rep in Alabama out here.
She's from Montgomery.
She's from Montgomery. She went to school in Mobile for a hot minute, but now she like lives in LA. And I found this project somehow on a whim before any of the other stuff I mentioned. Total hipster name drop here. But I don't know where I found it, but I listened to it. Super short, 7 songs, 20 minutes. I love the title immediately. Industry Games, the cover art with the joystick. Like, we're playing games out here on these freaking labels, because she did most of this independently at first, because she's on some label now. But it slaps beginning to front. It also has really great accompaniment and orchestration. And the best example of that is she did an NPR Tiny Desk concert.
Yeah.
It was so good. Like, she had like a couple background singers with her, and she had a couple people on instrumentals, and she sang on parts of it, and she sounded good. Like, she's just a really, really solid artist. So I definitely recommend everyone hop on this if you're looking for especially a new female rapper, because it seems that we're trying to find new ones with Megan, but if you want a smaller one, grab Chica, because I'm telling y'all, she's next up.
35 for me is Infinitely Ordinary by The Rex. The band is The Rex.
The Rex?
WREKS. Or ECS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, The Rex. So I found this band last year with their previous couple singles that they put out a couple years ago. But this, they're such a funny band to listen to. So they are like super like old school indie rock type, like Weezer, but a little bit more hardcore than Weezer. But the first song off of this album I heard was track 4, Fuck Somebody. It's so tongue-in-cheek, like very not like flip a table type rock, but very close to that, like very garage bandy feel. Not a lot of post-production on stuff, not a lot of mixing, at least I don't hear it, and that might be the intention, is to give it that more raw sound. But that's what I get out of it, and it's really, really, really good. This band, they snuck into a friend's house they were house sitting for a friend, and that guy had like a small studio, and so like while they're house sitting, they like didn't ask permission and used all of his stuff to record a couple songs, just like on the DL, and it ended up being their first single that they put out called "Favorite Liar" a couple years ago. And since then, they've toured with like All Time Low, New Politics, The Main, a couple of other people in that realm. But it's very just fun, kind of like middle finger type rock, which last episode I mentioned a mood, and this was a mood I went through that I really liked. So I really rocked with this. Again, very raw, very power chord type rock, very high, like grungy vocals, super, super cool sound. So definitely go. I would recommend checking them out if you've never heard of them or never heard the sound.
It's a vibe.
Yeah.
Speaking of vibes, my next album is Colorblind by Pluko. So this album is phenomenally produced. Pluko is a future-based artist, and future-based and trap artist. I say that he makes trap music, of the EDM sort. And I think that this album flows insanely well from one track to another. It is all very kind of soft-spoken, with insanely nice like low ends and really nice like sub basses and things like that. My favorite song on here is It Too Good to Be True? I just feel like the way everything kind of comes together to create this atmosphere and like an intensity that while it's still very like soft spoken, it's kind of like a sleeping volcano, where it like is like about to erupt at any moment. And then when it finally does, it's very nice. But it's just from top to bottom, it's great work. It's a very good album to introduce somebody into electronic music. It's a great study album as well. I think it's not lo-fi, so it's not gonna just drone on in the background forever. There will be moments that will kind of like keep your attention, but it creates little nice break pockets. And I really think that a lot of people will enjoy this. I think you guys would enjoy this a lot, because it's not necessarily about like the really heavy like grimy like metal on metal robot sounds, but a lot more musical and whatnot.
Metal on metal robot sounds is the funniest thing I've ever heard to describe electronic music.
I mean, that's what it is mostly.
You're right. No, you're absolutely right. But it's just funny.
So like,
My 35 is a very long title, so I'm just simply gonna call it "Go To" by Bring Me the Horizon, because the full title, as you can, it doesn't even show all of it because of my size of Zoom screen, but it's like music to listen to, dance to, blaze to, pray to, all these things that you can essentially do it to. This idea that you can play this music and do anything. I slightly disagree with it because some of this stuff they list on here, I was like, I would not sleep to this music. It's not. It's a little too dark for that. We mentioned Bring Me the Horizon on another episode with another album that came out with, because initially they released this album way back December 27th, 2019. So while the other album they just released is more of a quarantine reflective thing, this is something honestly just completely different, because it was a surprise drop that they didn't market at all. And it's 8 songs, but it's an hour and 15 minutes because all the songs on here are mad long, including a literal 24-minute track called Underground Big. And
Head
it's
full of hyena.
or otherwise known as Head Full of Hyena is the other name for it.
Wow,
because
dude.
it's truly like a 10-minute song, and then it's 15 minutes of a beat, and it's the lead singer Ollie just like having a stream of conscious monologue, just talking. A lot of it was talking about him being a vegan, which was interesting.
Hey, shout out.
So shout out, says Adam, the vegan of our podcast. But I honestly really liked this. It's really freaking weird from start to finish. I can't lie. It's not for everyone. It's mad strange, but it's so well produced. And it's just like the fact that they can make an album like this, but then go make Ammo, but then go make post-human survival horror, but then look at their back catalog, it's like, dang, like what can't they do in their own space? Because they keep kind of defying their own genre. It's really impressive. And also Halsey was on this, which is cool. Everyone else on here, I don't know who these people are. Actually, I do know who Bexy is, but
I'm just looking at the track titles.
the track
Dead
titles.
Dolphin Sounds Aid Brain Growth in Unborn Child Virtual Therapy Nature Healing 2 hours.
Yeah,
Literally
Like
sounds
seeing
like
spiders riot on your lever, running riot on your lever's grave.
Literally, they sound like conspiracy theory videos on YouTube. Like
yeah, the track list is just so strange because even the last track, you can't even pronounce it. It's a bunch of symbols, like and then the one with Halsey is an upside down question mark. Like it's weird. Like I said, y'all, it's mad weird, and like it's not though, which is weird. I take that back. It's not unnecessarily long, except for the 24-minute song. I could have gone without the extra 15 minutes. The first 10 minutes, I was like lit. The like second half of it, I was like, okay.
Talking about horses went just too long.
Yeah. It's too. But the rest of it, honestly, these are long songs. But I didn't have a problem with their length because they kind of put me in a trance. Low key, this album may hypnotize you. So if you're susceptible to that, like, take your time with this. But it's cool. I don't know. It's a strange album. Everyone should listen to it at least
so
one time.
weird.
Yeah, it's weird. It's the weirdest.
Man.
It's the strangest album I have on here, just because it's like, what the hell? But damn, it's good.
Bro, Scene Kids come up with some weird stuff, dude.
For real.
Also, speaking of names on post-human survival horror, the last song with Amy Lee is called One Day the Only Butterflies That Will Remain Are the Ones in Your Chest as You're Walking Towards Your Death.
It's like a poem. Well, it's kind of like the 1975 I Like It When You Sleep for You're So Beautiful.
Yeah, so unaware of it.
Yeah, it's kind of like that vibe.
Yeah.
British
They're
people,
trying
man.
to compete with just the longest song titles.
It must be a British thing because like 1975 and Bring Me the Horizon are both Brits. So
yeah, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's drugs. I don't know. Because I mean that's also a common thread.
I mean, yeah.
I think Ollie's sober.
I think he's sober, but definitely Maddie Healy was heavy under the influence of drugs.
Well, for that album.
For that album specifically, yeah.
But not necessarily like they're actively doing it, but just like the lasting influence of. Like,
yeah, the experience of doing drugs has left this imprint on you.
Yeah. Well, also like I've never done like psychotropics and stuff, so I don't know like to what extent they can, like if you go to that headspace once, it's possible that you're able to like return to it without necessarily using the drug. I don't know, that's sidebar. So my 34 is Everything Means Nothing by Black Bear. Black Bear is slowly moving into a little bit more like popular space. I've been listening to his stuff, or we've been listening to his stuff since like 2015 ish.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first song I ever heard of his was I Don't Fucking Care, which I love, and I love that whole project. Dead Roses, was that the name of the project?
Dead Roses.
Yes. Dead Roses.
So I love that, and I've listened to his stuff periodically throughout. But this is the first project that I really sat down and tried to like think critically about of his in a while, and I like it. I mean, it has this moving through the space of like, especially with the tracks. I Feel Bad, I Feel Too Much, and I Felt That. Like those three together kind of take you through the progression of like how feelings work when it comes to like breakups and stuff like that. And then it all is just, it feels very like emo type electronic pop, which is kind of where he sits. He has a Love feature, which that song sounds less like a Black Bear song and more like a Love song with Black Bear on it, but it is what it is. And a Trevor Daniel feature as well. But I think Feel Too Much is probably my favorite song on the album. simply because he goes into this like space with like a ton of electronic double vocal harmonies and really interesting production choices with that song in particular that I don't think he's done a ton of in the past, which I really enjoy. So like I think simultaneously there's a lot of artist growth here, but also like it's him stepping into like a more popular sphere, so it becomes less like to some people who have been Black Bear ride or dies, it might feel like he's like not selling out, but he's like stepping out of his previous zone a little bit. But I think that's okay. Plus, the album does start with Hot Girl Bummer, which the first line is fuck you and you and you. So it's still Black Bear, but maybe a little less so. I don't know. It's just it's a different sound in a good way, similar to like the choice of on take I had earlier. It's a different sound than his normal stuff, I think, but in a good way.
I felt like the poppiest side of Dead Roses.
Yeah,
like Ain't Love and 90210.
Yeah, definitely
expanded.
Yeah,
We'll talk about it again.
Cool.
I think we're gonna talk about that at least 2 more times.
Yes.
All right. So my next album, I don't know if y'all know who these guys are, but it's by a band called Far, and the song is called Weightless. Or the album is called Weightless. There's a song called Weightless. So Far is basically, if y'all remember the group Chitty Bang.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So that is like if instead of having a rapper and a EDM producer in a band together, you had a Justin Timberlake and a producer in a band together.
Interesting.
Okay.
And this is what happens. It's really good. The homie that say like the guy that I don't remember which one sings, but it's a guy from LA who is the singer and a guy from London who is the producer. And the guy who sings on this has an incredible voice, and has just like so much soul, and it is very Timberlake. Like if Timberlake had like more classic key tones in his voice,
right,
it'd be like that. But especially on the song Heal Me, homie comes in with this falsetto that is just out of this world. Like it is ridiculous. Like he just hits it over and over and over again, and it is just the most epic sounding. Like it's super super cinematic. The song Paranoid is also very good. I like how it has its own intro. I always like it when songs have intros, and it's not just like the first 16 bars. It's like something separate.
Right.
And I really enjoyed this. So I think I definitely recommend it for both of you guys. Adam, you'll enjoy the tone of Homeboy's voice, and Colton, you will like how cinematic everything feels in this. But definitely if you're a fan of Chitty Bang, and if you remember Chitty Bang, because that is a deep cut for some people.
Yeah, I mean, honestly.
If you enjoy Chitty Bang and Justin Timberlake, you'll definitely like that album.
I remember listening to Chitty Bang on Need for Speed Hot Pursuit.
Yeah.
They were in that. They were on the soundtrack for that game.
Honestly, I want Chitty Bang back.
Yeah, I just looked at their Spotify. They haven't made anything since like 2012 as a project, and I'm like, ooh, I didn't realize that had been that long. So
they posted something like they did what Air Dubai does.
Yep.
And just we're like, hello, we exist. But
we're just doing stuff. Maybe one day you'll see.
Yeah, for real.
And the crazy thing about the Air Dubai thing was John straight up said, we're not getting back together ever.
Yeah.
And then they started releasing music, and I was like, homie,
why you do this to my emotions?
What you gonna do? Like what's happening?
Yeah.
All right. My number 34 is While the World Was Burning by Saint John. So it was funny because Ryan the other day literally said like, yo, this album is a vibe. And that's a really good way to describe it.
It is.
It's very much a vibe. And the vibe in question, I guess, to define it would be like, it's this like melodic rap that's kind of dark but also fun at the same time. It's a very interesting sound, and I haven't listened to a project from him until this because I heard him on the Beyonce I want to say it's Black is King, but the Lion King, the Gift album that he was featured on that. And he's just getting a lot of traction from other things. And also Roses blew up with that Maybach remix on TikTok, just really set him on fire. But one, cover art's really cool because the cover art is all of the people who he featured on it drawn as skeletons in different vehicles, which is really, really cool. I thought that was cool. The features are all super dope from, you have
Kanye.
Two
Future,
Kanye features.
two Kanye features. Really was impressed with the Quarantine Wifey song because JID's verse on that beat was truly extraordinary.
There ain't a beat JID can't kill.
Literally, but he really, really slaughtered that one.
Black and Kaylani, bro.
Yeah, Black and Kaylani and St. John all on the same song. So like
that's wild.
definitely the R&B vibes, but like
yeah,
from start to finish, it was super tight. I mean, it's not long nor short. It's 14 tracks and 43 minutes, but it kept my attention. I ultimately the whole time, like all the way through. I ultimately gave it an 8.9 because I thought it was really, really solid.
Wow.
Really impressive body of work, and he's kind of been at this thing for a minute, but he's really just kind of starting to get his name out there more publicly. Also, I watched a GQ interview with him. That man is funny. So I would like him to be more successful simply so he can do more interviews because I think he's hilarious. Like he's just
listen to this man talk more.
Really funny dude. I feel like he would be a great feature for the Duo Samaro podcast. Like he has that New York
Deezus
Samaro podcast because like that New York, like Brooklyn kind of stream of conscious comedy is something that I think he does really well as well. But While the World Was Burning by St. John, go get it now.
33 is a album called In Good We Trust by a band called Via Fiore. Via Fiore is the side project or the band of the drummer from Mayday Parade. So if you are a pop punk old guard, you'll know who Mayday Parade is.
And New Guard too.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they're still around, but like
they sold out Iron City.
I'm talking jamming out to Jamie all over, like that type level. But
Jason Lancaster.
All right, he has a project coming out soon too. But anyway, so Mayday Parade's drummer that has been doing backing vocals for Mayday Parade since Jason Lancaster left, back in the very early stages of Mayday Parade. He basically was like, I've been writing music on the side for a long time, and in between, since Mayday Parade doesn't tour as much, they don't record as often, they don't have as many projects coming out as quickly as they used to. He's like, basically between Mayday Parade stuff, he would be working on things like this, and this is the culmination of a lot of that work over the past couple of years. So this is an EP technically, but it's just kind of all these songs that he's been recording and doing on his own. And he basically is like, it gave me an outlet for all the things that I wanted to write and do. And so he sings on all of it. He has a great voice. I've always loved his voice. Like backing vocals in Mayday Parade basically means co-singer. They have a lot of double singing songs, which was really popular back in the earlier pop punk scene. But his voice has always stuck out to me as being really good, in addition to Derek Sanders, the lead singer of Mayday Parade. But out the gate, Call to Arms, the track one on this song or on this album, is really, really cool. Very anthemic. Like, it's a lot of power chords. It's a lot of like very similar style to Mayday Parades. If you like Mayday Parade, you'll like this, which makes sense because he writes a lot of the music for Mayday Parade as well. But just a very like, you can tell that these songs are not necessarily written to string together because it is a lot of the stuff that he was writing on the side, but they all are on the same theme. Like, this is obviously like the mode that he's been in. It's all some like thematic of like apathy and like trying to get out of that like writer's block headspace and all this kind of stuff. But it's just a really good EP. I found it on Spotify. Has a playlist called Pop Punk Isn't Dead or something like that. Pop Punk's Not Dead. And Call to Arms was on there. And so I found it and I was like, oh, who's this band? It sounds really familiar. I feel like I know them. And then I clicked on it. I was like, oh, it's the drummer from Mayday Parade. That makes a lot of sense as to why I know who it is. but it's really good. Cover art's fire. I love for those of you that are on audio only, it's this like hazy, like LA scene with like a flower and some other stuff. It's very interesting. Very I don't know how to describe it. Just very unique, I guess.
It also looks like it's a physical because you see in the upper left corner there's like a torn like
yeah.
sticker as if like you bought it in like as a vinyl like at a record shop.
Right. Yeah. I don't know where the name of the band came from. I don't know enough about that, but it's very cool. They are actually also featured on a couple of Jason Lancaster songs as the band playing behind him, which I think is really interesting. Because like Jason Lancaster was the first lead singer of Mayday Parade, or co-singer of Mayday Parade, and he left and has been working on solo stuff for a while, and then he has brought Via Fiore in to be a band for a couple of times. There it is.
Yeah.
Jason Lancaster.
Good things only happen if you're good.
The Fire song, incredible song. But it's a single, so it's not on here. But very, very good. Anyway, Via Fiore, check them out. Very cool pop punk, vintage pop punk, Mayday Parade type ish.
All right. So my next album is Perceiver Part 1, Consciousness Program by Ulasile. And this brings in our first dubstep entry into my list so far. So this Ulasile is a label head of a label called Halcyon, and they specialize in a form of dubstep called color bass or future rhythm, and it's basically just lots of arpeggiated things, and then and all of the basses and sounds are very melodic in nature. And that's best just exemplified by if you go to minute 2, like go to 2 minutes in a song Consciousness, all of the basses that come in and kind of just like sweep through the song are very melodic, and it is everything kind of travels up and down. This album first caught my eye because of the cover art. I like anime, and I still read manga sometimes, and I love the old show Code Lyoko, and this is what I imagined the if that show had gone just a little bit wrong. I feel like this is what would have happened to some of the characters if they had been taken over by the virus, like they were trying to prevent from happening. But yeah, it's a very heavy album, but it is the best way to describe it is colorful. Like how we mentioned with Phineas, in like having synesthesia, all of the sounds in this album and in this genre or this subgenre are supposed to make you think of like color, like just visual. It's supposed to be a very like visual experience, and so it's very good. I think it's definitely something to kind of sit down and just kind of examine on how different sound types and different waves of different sound waves, like your sine waves, which are like the loopy ones, and like your toothed waves or whatever, can affect your body and just like the way you feel about something, because there's a lot of sudden mood switches that happen, and it's just coming from like something that's very spacious to something that's very like gritty and grimy, and it's very, very nice to listen to. So yeah, that's Ulasile, Perceiver Part 1.
That cover art was fire.
Cover art was
dude,
super nice. My number 33 is Spilligion by Spillage Village.
Yo,
I know you like this one as well. But so initially this was supposed to be the next solo project by JID. But apparently he said when he went to rent out the studio, he was like, I don't feel like making a solo record right now. I think he felt like he was tired of being alone because of 2020. And he's like, I'm getting the gang back together and we're doing the next Spillage Village album. So Spillage Village is a collective of artists, JID, Earth Gang, Black, Mariba, Hollywood JB, Jordan Bryant, and Benji. And they haven't done a collective project together in like a couple years, mainly just because like JD and Earth Gang, since the last one, they got signed to Dreamville and their careers kind of took off that way. Black got signed to his own label, took off that way, and the rest of these kind of people, they're on independent labels and stuff like that, or they're still coming up. But it was cool to see them back together, and thematically, I love the album as a concept. Like the cover art is really cool. The name Spilligion, every song being called like Baptized or Mecca or Psalm Sing, and even the music videos were filming like churches. They did an NPR Tiny Desk inside of a church. Like this idea of like spirituality like flowed throughout the project in a very different way that I typically see religion approach to music, because it's not like it's Christian hip hop. Like it's not that. It's its own thing. It's still very raw. Also lots of fire features from, Chance the Rapper and Buddy are on a track. You got Ant Clemens on a track. You got Masego on a track. Like crazy fire features. A 10 out of 10 on teamwork and collaboration for me, because some of these people produce, some of these people do verses, some sing, some rap. Like they all were able to come together and make an extremely cohesive project out of like their 6 or 7 members that there are, and they consider kind of all of their friends as well to be these like bears that are part of their collective. So it just from start to finish, it really bodies, even though it's 50 minutes, which is not long, but it's also not short either. It really flows well for me. I was taken aback. I was like, woof. I don't know why I was taken aback, because I know JD and Earth Gang slap, but like this whole album really slaps for me.
It's very good. And I'll talk about it more later, but like JID don't miss. Earth Gang
really doesn't miss,
bro. Like End of Days is insane. Just the flow of the song, the concept of it. It reminds me a lot of and this might be a deep cut. End of Days reminds me of the that one Watsky song that was an additional song, the corpse,
Exquisite Corpse.
Exquisite Corpse. Like the flow of it reminds me of that, because it's very like, it feels like Zombieland driving down the middle of the road. Like all these scenes are being described by different people taking verses, and
right?
It was like an interlude with half Earth Gang playing the guitar. I don't know. It's very cool. I really like that project a lot.
It's impressive.
Yeah. So my 32 is a repeat. We got Tickets to My Downfall by MGK. We talked about this one a little bit already, and we'll probably talk about it again, but
at least one more time.
I know. I really liked this sound for him. I'll try to be brief here, but I really like the Halsey feature, which we already mentioned. I like his ability, like he was seen, or is seen, as a rapper because he's a very good rapper and has done that really well. But I think his ability to kind of like chameleon into this persona and this atmosphere is also really cool, that he's able to do it so well. Because like a lot of artists change aesthetics with albums, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But they change aesthetics with each project or body of work that they do, and I think he hadn't always done that. I mean, he's done it a little bit, but I think this is truly like the aesthetic shift is very clear. Also, I love the cover art, the fact that he's holding his guitar so stinking low. Like, that's so punk rock to me.
Do you know the story behind this cover art?
Not 100%, no.
It was this is like not the it wasn't the original
not
cover
the original
art.
one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was
the original art was a drawing that somebody did that was actually like stolen from something else, and he found out like the day before the album came out. So like he had already signed all of like the special edition CDs to go out and send to people, and then they were like, "Hey, you can't send those out because copyright." And so they went out. Him and Monson went out to his backyard and took that picture, and that was your album cover.
Yep.
Anyway, I mean that's crazy. Because it looks good. Like it's
It
a good
does.
cover art.
I
But
honestly prefer it because when he first dropped the cover art that he didn't end up using, I actually did not like it at all. I really like the redone cover art a lot more.
interesting. Um, but no, I think it's a good move for him. Um, and I think what happens a lot of times when people do this kind of stuff is like there's like two, not halves, but like two of the extremes is like people are like, oh, this is where he always should be, this is what he always should do, this is the sound he should always make. And then there's this other group of people that are like, oh, he's running away from the rap scene, especially coming off the tail of like his beef with Eminem and people being like, oh, well, he got killed by Eminem, so now he's gonna move out of rap, he's not even gonna try to rap anymore, which I don't think is true at all. I think this is an artistic decision for him, that this is what he wanted to do and this is what he wanted to make, so he did. And he very well could make more rap albums that are just as good as some of his previous ones. But if this is the lane he chooses to be in, I think he can do well there as well. The only thing that I would hope to see from him going forward is like the trouble with pop punk and like punk rock is that you can get caught in this rut of sameness. It's hard to differentiate yourself and to like differentiate project from project without like understanding lyrics. Of course, lyrics will change, but like there's only so much you can do with power chords, you know. And so like finding a way to make unique rock leaning music is I'm interested to see what he does if he chooses to continue down this path. I'm not saying it's something he can't do. He certainly can, but just I'm interested to see how it turns out. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Wait, so my number 32 is another Mike Shinoda project, Dropped Frames Volume 3.
There it is.
This is my second favorite of the cover arts. Just thought the UFO taking the cow is hilarious. I also think he drew these.
That's cool.
He also does art because he's just good at things. But this was the most EDM-y of the three projects, I thought. I still think it's really cool that he, coming from Linkin Park and just being involved in a rap and like the last great new metal group that became a great hybrid rock electronic group that went back to being a new metal band that just kind of just said fuck it and then lost their singer. May he rest in peace. Like hearing him just make beats and like kind of put them out for fun and like stream them on YouTube and Twitch is really, really interesting. Because we always have known that he's like to do alternate music projects. Because he had Fort Minor, the rap group, which gave us Remember the Name, which is one of the most iconic rap songs ever at this point in time. And I'll fight anybody on that because everybody knows that chorus. But I think this is really cool. It also, there's on every Linkin Park album until a certain point, there's always one song that was just kind of that was just an instrumental. And it was always him and like Johan. And so it was very cool to kind of get, and those are always some of my favorite tracks. And like, especially even tracks that weren't instrumental, like Nobody's Meteora, which Mike produced. And if you don't know Nobody's Listening, it is the rappiest Linkin Park song that is not involve Jay-Z. And I think Mike had one of the biggest hands in producing that. So it's really cool to hear him do projects like that. And also Mike's Gonna Mike is an insane song. And also Sidechain Gang is a really fun listen. So definitely listen to this if you're on like a car ride and just need something to vibe to. I'm gonna hop on the vibe train because that's a song title.
So my number 32 is something we talked about on the last episode, and it's by people who we've already talked about already on this episode, but it's a different album because it is Post-Human Survival Horror by Bring Me the Horizon. So like they were really neck and neck between Go To and this. I personally, I really think I liked Go To more because it was different, but on a like grading, trying to be a non-biased spectrum, because I said that whole 25-minute track, like it just lost a couple points for me versus I didn't have a ton to fault here. I gave it an 8.9. It's not as good as Amma. Like Amma is my favorite project by them, but it still slaps. And we talked about before, Dear Diary, I listened to it in my bed when it first came out, and that was a terrible idea
that
because
was a terrible idea.
it scared me and my girlfriend. But I really just think that this is very tight. It's 9 tracks and it's pretty short. The features are all really dope. Like Baby Metal, who I don't necessarily love as an artist, but they were a great pick to be on this.
Kingslayer's an anime intro.
Truly,
it's an
truly.
OP. Wow.
Them working with Youngblood was a really good choice with Obey. Yeah, I don't really have a ton to say about it. It's just that it's Bring Me the Horizon. I don't think that they can necessarily make bad music. And it's just another project of them trying to do something different. Because as we said last time, it's a little bit more hardcore than
A little.
a little bit more hardcore than maybe what they're even used to in their catalog. It's much more hardcore than Ammo. It's very different than Go To. Like they just do a very diverse catalog, and building that as an artist is honestly really impressive. So shout out Bring Me the Horizon. Keep dropping music. I'll keep listening.
Flashbacks to Diamonds Aren't Forever. Jesus Christ.
Never sleep because sleep is for the weak.
Anyway, my 31 rounding out this episode for me is an EP from a band that I really love. It's called A Field Guide to Loneliness by Jamestown Revival.
Oh, shout out.
Yeah. If anybody who knows me that's listening to this knows that I love this group. It's 2 guys, and I absolutely wait with bated breath for them to put out new music, because every time I listen to it, it feels so comforting to me. So Jamestown Revival is a duo, folk Americana, very classic folk Americana sound, very homey, makes me feel like I'm back in the good parts of my hometown. They're from California, so it's a little bit more of that West Coast feel, which is not where I'm from, but the Americana aspects of it are very comforting to me. Overall, this project really listening to it outdoors with nature sounds behind you is the best way to enjoy this piece of work. The best song to me, Temporary Revelation, and it's a longer song, but Temporary Revelation is basically the whole idea of the song is how we all go through day-to-day life very mundane, and then we'll have these fleeting thoughts of but what if I did this, or what if I created this, or what if I stepped out and tried something different? But then just as quick as those things come, they also leave, because we have to get back to doing whatever we have to do in the moment. So the whole thing is just very introspective of trying to get out of routines and do something different, do something meaningful. And the coolest part of Temporary Revelation to me too is that in the background of the whole thing, anytime they mention sounds and stuff, it'll be in the background. It's there's a line that says it mentioned a train going by, and very faint in the back of the headphones, if you're in stereo, you can hear the click 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 of a train clicking by on the tracks. Cool. It's so cool. I remember listening to Temporary Revelation the first time, I got chills. It honestly was so such an interesting perspective. But more for me, it's so good to hear them make new music, because I've listened to them since 2014, freshman in college. Me and Aaron, a friend of ours, would because it's duos, and so we would sing these together and pick the double parts, and because he's from South Alabama, and so we had that kind of more country vibe than a lot of the people we hung out with. I don't know. It's a big nostalgia button push for me. Very, I don't know. It just hits different. I really love this piece.
That's
The
incredible.
only reason it's not higher is because it's not long enough. I just wanted more.
Fair enough.
Like it would be so much higher if it were a complete album, but it's not. So here we are.
Yeah.
All right, so my last album of the episode is going to be another repeat. It is Ungodly Hour
There it
by
is.
Chloe X Haley. Chloe and Haley. I can speak English. I thought this was really good. I think it is another album that kind of proves that we're in R&B right now. Just overall in general, they just do it so much better than the guys are. I thought that Busy Boy was one of my favorite songs. And it's honestly a song that I listened to a lot since going back and like listening to this album. It's entered my daily rotation, and I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up on my list for next year, or my like 2020 Wrapped from Spotify next year, because I really enjoyed this album. I hadn't listened to anything of theirs really before. Like I knew who they were because I had seen like some of their live performances, and I knew they could sing, and I knew that Homegirl is going to be Ariel, and I thought that was really cool. But for this being the first full project of theirs that I listened to, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought so. I didn't think that I was gonna like the Sway Lee song, just because I always get worried when I see Sway Lee because of Swing. Back when he was, well, he's still a part of Ray Shremmerd, but back when Ray Shremmerd was making music consistently, they put out Swing, and that high pitched thing just scares me, and so I'm always afraid I'm gonna hear that again. Much like I'm afraid that we're gonna let Future do his falsetto again.
Oh no!
I'm really worried that we're gonna bring the swing falsetto back from Sway Lee, and I really don't need that. But I thought the song was really good. It was very like unforgettable vibes, and I really like that song. I really enjoyed "Don't Make It Harder on Me," and then also "What She Thinks of Me" is a vibe and a half. So yeah, I really enjoyed Ungodly Hour by Chloe and Haley.
All right, to take us home here, my 31 is called D2 by August D. So August D is another, I guess, stage name for Suga from BTS. So this man is Suga when he is BTS. When he does his solo work, he's August D. I don't know. Actually, I do know. I do know a little bit why. Apparently, like in his real name, you can take away and rearrange his letters, and they will spell out his like real name. Because like parts of this would spell Suga, right? You would see Suga, and then there's like something about he was born in August or whatever. I forget. This was initially shown to me by a friend of mine. And she showed me the music video for Di Twita, and the music video was cool. But what was crazy was it's too hype. It's insane. I like literally wanted to get up and punch someone in a mosh pit. It's like, what is this? And then Genius did a halfway through the year list in the summer where they gathered a bunch of their top lyricist scholars, and they had them pick and choose a ranking. And this was like number 17 or something for them. So I was like, hold up. The fact that this album is not in English is getting that high on like a very rap-centric platform. And I think it's hard to get respect for international rappers. I was like, yo, hold up. I got to listen to this. Yo, this album slaps. It's crazy. There is only one other rap feature from RM, who's another member of BTS. But the other two, or actually I should say three, because you have a Max feature, M-A-X, R&B style feature, because they traded.
That's
like
Max Schneider, right?
Yeah, it's Max Schneider, because they traded. Okay. Suga, or August D, I should say, gave him a feature on his project called Color Visions this year.
Yeah.
So they traded features, and then he has two who I'm assuming are Korean R&B style singers come in, because it does melodic rap, but then it also like is like Travis Scott, let's get hype kind of rap. Super tight, 10 songs, 32 minutes. Boy can rap. Like, he really can rap, even though I don't understand what he's saying most of the time because he raps in Korean. Sometimes he does rap in English, but most time it's straight up Korean or Japanese. Doesn't matter. This man, he's different. Also, he has a feature from Logic because they were in the stew. He has a feature. And Logic said, oh, he has one. I just don't know what he's going to do with it. So like the next project, maybe D3, maybe because he did a first D1, D2 is what we're talking about here. Maybe D3, he going to have that Logic feature. Because if he do, sheesh, that's going to body. Because they both rap really fast as well. He's a fast kind of rapper sometimes. But if anything, go hit up D-Tweeta on YouTube. Look that ish up. It will blow you away, like straight up. Like I jumped off my couch when I heard that song for the first time. But that is going to close us out for our second episode of the 2020 Album of the Year Countdown. And that was albums 40 through 31. So please come back to hear the remaining 30. And we'll see you all next time here on Wrapped.
Peace, love, and happiness.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to Wrapped. You can listen to every album we've included in our top 50 lists by visiting our Spotify account from the link on our website and checking out our playlist tied to each host. Remember, you can get behind the scenes and additional content by following us on social media via Instagram at Wrapped Podcast or Twitter at Podcast Wrapped, or email us musical suggestions via wrappedpodcast@gmail.com. You can view our videos on YouTube or listen to episodes on any music or podcast player. Lastly, Wrapped is hosted by Colton Hinderliter, Ryan Key, and Adam Stansel, with show artwork by Autumn Salazar. See you all next time on Wrapped.